Right, welcome to the Compliance Weekly Sync on the 25th of October. If you live in the future, and the first order of business is just to go through the milestone board and discuss some of our recent released features. So I believe the last one we discussed was the ability to deactivate headers using the API. And the next two are with Hitesh.
So we have added the APIs for updating instance level GCP audit event destinations, as well as the documentation for all the APIs that were added. So with this, APIs are summed up for the instance level GCP.
Perfect. Next one is the streaming audit events to ClickHouse. Hasima?
Yeah, so this is just a duplicate issue. Earlier we were planning to do streaming and migration separately, but now we will be using a single worker to do both of these jobs. So I have just closed this issue and moved the other one to ready for development.
Cool. The next one was create new framework tab and table. So this was a front-end issue that I finished. So we now have a new frameworks tab. It doesn't look this pretty just yet, but it's behind a feature flag and has been released. Next one was use auditor and add audit event for projects scheduled to be deleted due to inactivity. Does
I
anyone
verified
else?
that one. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yes, an audit event when the project's been scheduled, and I verified that works.
Fantastic. Next was the streaming audit events to GCP logging for instance level at the UI. So this has been merged, and I think there's a demo for it. I believe Jay is also doing a full demo, end-to-end demo for that as well. So that'll be great once that comes through. Josefa would send namespace level audit events to S3 destinations.
Yep. So this was one of the. This issue was closed the last milestone, actually delivered in 16.5, but we just verified this in this milestone and closed it out. So that's why it's showing on this board right now. Yeah. This is about the S3 AWS S3 integration for group level audit events, which is behind a feature flag, and the front end MR is in review.
Right. Create ClickHouse audit events model. Hasima?
Yeah, so this is basically a model wrapper for ClickHouse database, which will act as a ORM on above ClickHouse, and this is merged. Next step is just to create a schema and start pushing the data into ClickHouse.
Cool. Next one was Josefa, which I think's related to the other one.
Yeah, that's the same thing, like all the GraphQL APIs for adding, deleting, listing, updating the AWS S3 configurations for a group is deployed to production and ready for use by front end.
Cool. And the last one on the list was create pending status check response on MR creation with Jay. Does anyone else know about this one?
Nope.
I think this was creating a new pending status in the status checks, as we currently only had. It was pending was inferred through other means. And so this is explicitly creating a pending status so that we can create a timeout off the back of it, which is awesome. Yeah, and then next after that, we'll go to the planning issue and just go through this. The first one on the list is improve the compliance framework report MVC with Ilya. I know you've just come back to the group, so you might not have too much of an update yet.
Yeah, no, not much to update there yet. Sorry, so just researching that.
Cool. Next was with Sam, the SAML SSO authentication for merge request approvals.
Yes, the blocker I mentioned last time has been resolved, and we're currently getting the CI build green and completing specs to round it off, and I expect to, yeah, complete and release it this milestone.
Nice. Next is with Hasima, the migrate audit events to ClickHouse Cloud.
Yeah, so currently I'm trying to create optimized schema locally by trying out different indexes. Soon I will create a MR, and also the planning for the data migration is done, which can be started for development in this milestone.
Fantastic. Retried failed status checks with Jay. I think that's pretty much almost closed. The final MR has just got some failing pipelines, and once that's approved, then we can get that closed off. Not sure about the adherence report improvements, unless anyone else knows anything. No, default branch protection drop down, Hasima.
Yeah, for this, so my second MR is also getting very large and complex. So right now I'm trying to break it down into different MRs. Hopefully we will be able to merge this in 16.6.
Great.
Yeah, here I could chime a bit because I started working on front end on this one. Also figured a couple of nuances pinged you, Hasimar, in your MR, like wrote some comments there in terms of how this will interact with front end. So yeah, I also expect that the front end for this one will land on 16.6. So like,
Right.
great, I finally have something to say on the weekly. I miss that so much.
Nice. Next was the streaming audit events to AWS 3 with Huzefa.
Yeah, so for this one, the backend is complete. The front end is in review, as mentioned previously. Nate, I saw you added a comment about the feature flag. So if you want to ask any questions or anything to discuss in sync, we can use this time.
Yeah, sure. I didn't really. I know that the back end has a feature flag blocking the actual sending, not the GraphQL. So I just wondered what you thought was the best approach here. The front end is not using that feature flag. So I was just wondering when you were thinking about starting to roll that out and what you think the best strategy is.
So I added a comment there. There could be two options here. Either we update the front end MR to actually use that feature flag, the same feature flag as well. So if the feature flag is enabled, then we show the UI on the front end. Otherwise, we just hide the UI. Whereas on the backend, what the feature flag is actually doing is the graphical APIs are not guarded by the feature flag. So the user can add S3 destinations, update them, delete them, list them. However, while actually streaming those audit events to S3, we check if the feature flag is enabled for that particular group or not. If not, we simply don't stream the event to S3. So with the current state, what will happen is we have groups which don't have this feature flag enabled, but they'll still be shown the UI on the front end, and they'll add new AWS S3 destinations. However, to their surprise, they'll not see events on S3. This would be the case right now. And I mean, if we roll out the feature flag fast, I don't think there'll be any issue with the current approach as well. Yeah. However, like an ideal thing would be, of course, hiding the front end part as well behind the feature flag. But I think if it's a lot of work and requires additional MR or something, I think we can skip it and release the feature flag on the backend. And yeah, I mean, that's my thought. Not sure about what others think.
Does anyone else have a preference on this sort of thing?
So we have the streaming behind the feature flag because we do not want other streamings to get affected because of it.
Yes, that was the only reason we added the feature flag in the first place. So that if anything, like, I mean, we simply added a new integration, but if the code broke the existing ones, at least we have a feature flag to turn off and let the existing feature work because it's a critical feature. So that was the only reason for adding it. And right now we have enabled the feature flag for our test groups plus the GitLab groups, both GitLab org and GitLab com. and I mean, we're not seeing any issues. The flag has been enabled for quite a long time, I guess. What I can do is I can start rolling out the feature flag in like by actors in percentage, like 20%, 25%, and maybe roll it out by end of day today. And then by that time, probably the front-end MR would also start rolling out. The only thing is users will not start using this feature unless they have the front end. This is what I think. I mean, not everyone would be using graphical APIs to actually add those destinations. So
Yeah,
it makes more sense to, yeah, I think we can just roll out the feature flag and let the front-end MR go to production if users, I mean, when users see that on the UI, they'll start adding the destinations, S3 destinations. If we see issues with streaming, we'll, I mean, roll back the feature flag. We still have that toggle at least.
Yeah, that makes sense. The front-end MR has only just gone into initial review, so it's probably another week away from getting through, realistically anyway. So yeah, if we start rolling out the feature flag, we don't have to push it too fast, but I think that sounds like the right approach, and then we can at least turn it off if needed. Cool, thank you. Where were we? Oh, streaming order events. Oh, filtering streaming ordered events by subgroup and project. Hitesh?
So I had created an MR for migration and models for this. Alex, as a database reviewer, I did some comments over refactoring the tables slightly so that we should not keep different data for projects and groups, because they are working on some refactoring for unifying as much as possible data of groups and projects under a single entity named namespace. So I have done refactoring and I'll be sending MR to them for review again.
Sam, any update on the instance level audit logging with the recent hackathon?
Sorry, I don't think we did much in the recent hackathon because it was scheduled with a lot of the end of milestone push. But I do have an update on the progress. We do have about 26 of 30 added for the quarter. So that's coming along good, actually.
Oh, okay, that's really good. Love to see how much was from us versus other teams as well, other groups. Mark's not here, but I know that this has been blocked as he's working on a lot of AI end-to-end tests at the moment. And the final one with Ilya as well. I don't know if you've got any update on the compliance framework report adding the security policies.
No, because like, thank you for yesterday for introduction, but not much progress here.
Thought as much. Cool. Next, we'll jump over to the engineering dashboard and just go through some of the stuff here. Feel free to call out if you see anything that you want to discuss. Otherwise, I'll quickly run through it. Error budget running at about 99.99%, which is awesome. The MR's 60% feature, 36 maintenance, and 5% bugs. So that's fantastic. It's almost perfect, and good to see that the bugs are trending down. Or I don't know if that means we're not working on them, or we don't have any, but either way, it's good. MR rate, I think this is something that we discussed previously, that it's dropped from 6 to 4.5. I don't know if there was any reasonings behind this, like around how this is measured versus, yeah, but yeah, I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that from last month.
I guess a lot of us were on PTO last milestone, I believe, public holidays and stuff like that.
Very true. Yep. And then yeah, merged MRs and closed issues. So we're still pretty light in October with, was it 5 or 6 days left to go? But it doesn't look like we'll reach September. But again, not sure if that's because of PTO and a bunch of other stuff like the shorter milestone as well, and the moving to every third Thursday. I think
Maybe
it
it
is.
was more smaller MRs for audit events in September. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That might have pushed it up because they were easier to do.
Yeah, that might have been
Conjecture.
yeah. Something maybe to look into. Feature flags. There's 3 that are defaulted to true, the adherence report for 2 of them and the compliance violation. I know that those were both only just released, so that makes sense while we're going to do cleanup fairly shortly after that. Pending status checks responses. I'm guessing that's Jay's one. That's the one that we just discussed, and this is the brand new one that has come in, so looks pretty good there. Open sus impacting issues, all S4 and below, and past due S3 and below. Now there's a couple that we've got scheduled in the current and next milestones, so that looks all good. And open MRs at the moment, we've got 1 at 60+ days and no community ones. Sam,
Yes.
any thoughts there on that one?
Yes, I had initial review, but haven't. I didn't get around to doing the comments yet, so I hope to get that out this week, though. So fingers crossed that's gone next week.
Fantastic. Nice. Cool. And next was just FYs. So talent assessment, just to call it out again, closes at, I know we're not supposed to say this, but end of day, the 25th in US. So that is midnight UTC on the 26th, I think it is. Is that right?
Oh, I understood it would close 25th 000.
Yeah.
So
It's,
I would have
yeah.
had another day. Okay.
It's like 15 hours away from closing, I think it is.
Something like that.
And the other thing was just a call out for there's no meeting runner for next week, and thanks Josefa for doing the next week after that, but then the following week of that. So if there's anyone that can pick up those ones, that would be great. Well, we can sort that out async anyway. Anything else anyone wants to discuss? Cool. I'll stop the recording then. I won't get you to wave at the camera because we realized that was useless.